Hi, my name is Vishal and I'm a senior trainer in multimedia education. I have 18 years of industry experience and let's get started with the video. Hello guys, welcome back. In this video we'll see the blurs of the Substance Designer. So if you could see under the filter section we have blurs. So we have different types of blurs. As you know, blurs are generally used to blur things, and we have very commonly used blur types what we have in different applications. We have the same blurs here, but one thing we have here is additionally is a slope blur, and we have two types of blurs here. One is a normal grayscale blur and another one is a color blur. Okay, so as you know, there is a distinction in grayscale maps and color maps in Substance Designer. So whenever you are blurring grayscales, you need to pick the gray one, and if you're blurring the colors, then you need to pick this one. Okay, so we have a base material created already. So I'll take a noise. I'll just take a random black and white spots here, and then we'll go to the blur section and then we'll choose this blur called Anisotropic Blur. Anisotropic grayscale blur it is. So it is more or less like a motion blur in other applications. So we connect them and we have intensity, how much amount you want to blur, and if I put it to 0, it becomes a normal blur, and when I increase the anisotropy, it becomes a motion blur or anisotropic blur. So you can blur it more. So we have samples because the quality of this map is not so good. So we have this blur which is having a bit of low quality. So I can increase the quality here and then make this a high quality blur here. Okay, and then we have intensity up to 16, and then we have anisotropy which makes it a motion blur. If not, this becomes a normal blur. Then we have the angle of the blur here. So I could see this blur can be used to give that brushed metal effect, and then I'm going to connect this to the height, and then let me select the base material and then drag that here. So we have ambient occlusion also, so I'm going to choose the ambient occlusion node and then connect it there. So you should able to see this is the result what I have got. Okay, even you can connect a normal map. Okay, just connect this one and then connect it to the normal, so you get that more but the light details, the definition will be much clear in terms of I mean if it's not able to achieve in terms of polygons. Okay, so if you could see here, we have the anisotropic blur which has been done with the grayscale. Now if I go to the base material and then bring on the color and then connect this to the color, you should able to see that red dotted line telling that this is not a suitable input. The color is basically asking a color input, it's not asking a grayscale input. So in that case you need to choose the anisotropic blur color. Okay, so I'm going to take the same values 32 1 1. Okay, so we have to connect that. Okay, so you should able to see when I'm connecting this black and white spots, again it's showing a red dotted line. For that you need to select the black and white spot and then choose the gradient map. So directly I think we'll choose a gradient map, connect it there, and make sure that it is color instead of grayscale. And now you connect it there. Now it blurs your texture, which is going to be as same as what we have got here. Okay, and then you can connect this to the color, and then you get that onto the model. Okay, so this is how you generally use the blurs here. And we have a blur high quality grayscale texture. So what is that actually? So you have this texture which is pretty noisy, so you connect that to the blur, and you have blur intensity which blurs the texture. So it's a normal blur what we have. Okay, so I'm going to hold shift and drag it and drop it here. Okay, and then we have this connection. I'm going to delete that and then switch it back so that you could able to see the blur. I don't want to show the blur high quality color and do the same process again. Just I thought to explain you. So now you can just see the blur and how it is going to work. So I'm going to select the blur. If you could see normal black and white spots, this is how it's looking. And then when I connected over the blur, this is what I've got. It looks like caustics. So you can explore the intensity and see what you're really getting there. Okay, so the more blur, the more low frequency waves you are getting there. So you can increase the quality there if you feel that the texture is not giving you up the high quality texture there. Okay, so that is blur high quality. Then we have blur non-uniform. Let's see what that is. So let me connect this texture. So we have there are two inputs which are this texture is asking. Okay, so what is that actually means is when we blur it out, so it doesn't blur completely or uniformly. So it will blur in different parts of that map. So how do we understand it? So I'll go to the patterns and then pick the checker and then connect a bitmap there. And also I reduce the tiles here for better understanding. Now I should able to see here the intensity of the blur is affecting only in the white area of this checker. Okay, you should able to see that. Okay, so we have asymmetrical and symmetrical blur, and then we have anisotropy. Okay, so it's generally making that texture symmetrical. So I can rotate that texture and I can increase this. Maybe it looks pretty much like a tile, some random tile. Okay, so I can now connect this one here and then see what you get. Okay, so you should able to see certain part is not blurred and some part of the texture is blurred pretty much good. So this is your blur non-uniform. Then we have blur radial. So what that actually does, it blurs that texture in a circular way. So we increase the angle, the amount of, it's like intensity. Okay, so you get more intense blur there. And also you can move the position of this center where you want it to be. You can generally put it there. And I could generally see this is giving me more of anisotropic blur, and also I could see a knot in the wooden texture. Okay, in wooden logs and all you see knots. Even you can get that knot effect using this texture based on which type of texture you're picking. For example, we have this texture. Okay, you can connect this and then you get high frequency knot there. Okay, you should be able to see that. Okay, these are as I told you, these are the blurs what you come across very commonly. Now we have a unique blur which is more used in Substance Designer, and that is slope blur. So we will try to understand the slope blur here. So let's take a slope blur, and then I'm going to use this noise. Okay, and I'm going to use a simple shape. Preferably I'm going to take a circle. Okay, and then if you could able to see, the slope blur has got a grayscale input and then a black and white spot, and I think I'll just connect it a reverse way. And then when I increase the intensity, I'm going to take a different noise here. Instead of the black and white spots, I'll use the Perlin noise, and then okay, you should be able to see there is no clear separation here, and this is not showing up correctly. Let me try swapping it and then go with this less intensity, and you should be able to see there is some sort of distortion happening here. I'm going to put the scale, so this is distorting this whole result. Okay, so you get that nice chipping off effect. I can try using a high resolution plane for you to see what exactly this has done when I used a slope blur, and I used a circular shape and a Perlin noise. Okay, but what if I take it in the opposite side, and then you get all the noise and you are seeing a circle, and it's not showing up anything really great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a blur node or a bevel node. Okay, so as I told you, I'm going to use there are two types of blurs. One is normal blur and a high quality blur. So I preferably use high quality blurs, and then I'm going to increase the intensity of this blur, and you got this. Okay, now if you could carefully see here, there is a blur happening here. You should be able to see that. Okay, and then we have a minimum and we have maximum, which actually clamping up the ranges which are below certain areas. It generally chips off some unwanted blacks and whites when we say minimum and when we say maximum. So maximum chips off the highest values or clamps the highest values, and minimum does the opposite of that. So this is can be swapped. As I told you, I can swap it the opposite side, and then you get this kind of nice so it's only affecting in the edges here. Okay, so you got that nice distortion. So I can reduce the intensity, and then you get that nice scale sort of effect on the model. Okay, So this slow blur is used a lot in making rock like patterns. Okay, let me take this one cube and then connect it. Then you should be able to see that total gray value has been scaled. So I can try using the opposite. Okay, so it's basically taking one of the value to give that nice change in the way it's getting distorted, and if you get that nice rough terrain, you should be able to see that. And mainly it is used in creating natural looking stone patterns, which are like mostly chipped off effect, because in you see that chipped off effect in some big rocks, and you have granular forms in boulders. So I'm talking about that chipped off effect. Okay, so you can try using different types of textures. So you can try with this black and white. It's all about taking the frequency of this texture into consideration. Okay, we can explore different types of textures and see what effect it's giving onto this. Okay, if you could see, this is cells, and then we have this cells here, right? So I can connect these cells to the blur, and then you got some nice blur happening there, and then you can connect this one here. Okay, so you get that nice crackles or gravels on the ground. I can start increasing the scale to get a more distorted shapes there. So you can try exploring different types of textures there and see what it is generally giving you. Mainly the scale is really important when you are doing this slow blur. Okay, you should see that nice texture there. And we have a lot of texture tools which can make this model look more interesting. So we'll see how this can be possibly used, and how we can get the best out of it. We'll see. Okay, see that. Try exploring different types of textures and see what you get here. It's about high frequency, so you need to scale that texture. I'll just show you that by taking a transform node. Okay, and then we'll divide it by 2. it's making too low, so I need to multiply it by 2 scale. It doubles that texture, and you could see something here. Okay, so there are a lot of textures here, and some textures don't really support. The texture frequency was too high, so instead of blur, you can also use the bevel tool. Okay, you should be able to see that. Okay, so this is what you can achieve using this texture. And see, say this tool, which is basically a slow blur. Explore what all you get it from different combinations of maps. This is the slope blur is used in getting the stone textures a lot, and also some bevels and rough bevels, especially for the tiles and all. It's very commonly used. So that's it for this video.